Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for putting up with our technical difficulties. We really appreciate you all and your patience. So we're going to get into some designer insights, and maybe we have some special stuff to show off now that, you have waited a little longer. We'll throw a couple things in there just for fun, right?
Oh, we will? Sweet.
Yeah. So I'm your host, Xander Tabler. I am joined today by lead game designer Danny Schaefer and senior game designers Tyler Parrott and Jeremy Zwern. So we're going to get into this today. Please pop questions in the chat if you have any as we discuss some of the aspects behind designing this game. We will answer, again, what we can. Some things I'm going to, shoot down right away and be like, don't answer that, Tyler. Please don't look up there.
But I've already started.
But I am happy to look through the questions, and we'll ask what we can and get to the bottom of what designing Star Wars Unlimited was like. So thank you all again, and we'll start off with the first question that I personally wanted to know is what card are you most proud of here in this first set that you designed, and why do you think it's like one of your favorite cards in the first set of Star Wars Unlimited?
He was looking
Who
at
wants
you,
to
Dan.
start?
Yeah,
Me?
He was looking at you.
I was right at you.
Gosh,
Yeah.
Okay, I guess my favorite is probably Millennium Falcon. There are a lot of candidates, obviously, but this card just does so many cool things for so many different decks. The interplay ready can be great in an aggro deck, but also great for defending yourself in a mid-range deck. And especially like the gameplay with that second ability, where at first you're reading it like, oh, that's just like a that's a drawback. I have to pay one every round to even keep my unit in play. And then the more you play with it, the more you see the times where it's like, ooh, I can bounce this back to hand and heal it, or get a negative upgrade off of it, or anything like that. Just a really fun card. Probably the card I have played the most in all of my playtesting for the game.
Can confirm.
Yeah,
Here's the card
Love
that he's played the most.
Love how it plays with Han Solo.
I was just going to say, you
leader.
didn't mention the Han Solo
awesome.
leader. Yeah.
Danny
Yeah.
did have another idea for a card in his mind when he first asked, and I was like, I can't believe it's not the Millennium Falcon. And he immediately changed his mind. So I want to point that out, that it didn't come to his mind right away, but it is his favorite, apparently. So we can go Jeremy, Tyler. Either of you have a preference on going next?
Thrawn is my favorite. So when we set out to put Thrawn in the game and as a leader, I had a very specific vision for what I wanted the play experience of Thrawn to be. I wanted the Thrawn player to feel like he had more tactical information than the opponent. I wanted Thrawn to be able to disrupt the opponent's ability to attack him, but in a way that wasn't predictable by the opponent. We went through so many different variations of how this Thrawn was going to work. And what we landed on exactly hits all the notes of, when you're up against him, it feels like he just knows twice as much as you, and it feels like he has the ability to control the board in ways that you just can't. And it is very satisfying to play with and against.
Yeah. He's one of my favorites, so
Yeah.
when you wrote that down, I was like, yeah, that's fair.
That's fun.
What about you, Jeremy?
I'll go with the card I Am Your Father. Tyler and I just got back from PAX Unplugged last week. Had a great time there. And we saw and heard this card a lot last weekend. So, I remember seeing the card title I'm Your Father. And a lot of times when I play games, I like to, enact some big moments from Star Wars. So, seeing this card title, I'm like, could we try to do that? Make people reenact some of these moments, iconic moments in Star Wars. And so I just kind of came up with the ability that, just let your opponents choose if they want to kind of join you or not. And so I think I just threw it out there as a silly idea, and I don't think it'd go anywhere. But Tyler and Danny both like, yeah, this is interesting. Let's try it. It sounds pretty cool. This is fun. And so we tried it, and yeah, it seems like most people really enjoy it. It's one of the most popular cards I've seen out there. I can't believe how many times I heard people yell no last weekend, like a Gen Con.
Yeah,
or
with the exclamation marks.
There's another one. Yeah, people really get into it. So it's been a lot of fun to see the community really embrace that card.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, all great cards here. Well, before we get into some of the questions that we've seen, populate the chat already, but I wanted to give you all a chance to talk a little bit about what your role on the Star Wars Unlimited team is. What does your day-to-day life look like? What are you in charge of? Things like that. And we can get a little bit into detail on, who you are on the team.
So I'm a lead designer. I've been on Unlimited from the start. And basically, it means I kind of touch a little bit of everything. I don't really anymore have any one set that I'm mostly working on. I kind of look at all the sets and give some feedback here and there, but I'm not like in the nitty gritty of a single set design at any point. Much more like overarching big picture type of things for me.
Nice.
But I still do play a ton of games and play testing
Yeah.
too.
That's fair.
Right now he's on a vendetta to find the best deck to beat, our internal metagame. And it's very fun to see Danny just come in and be like, I have opinions.
I just love building decks. It's so fun. And most of them fail.
Hey, that's
But
okay.
every so often you have
That's what
a
testing
good
is
one.
for. If you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough.
We'll talk a little bit more about your deck building and what you do when you're deck building here in a second. But Jeremy, what about you? What's your role in the team here?
Definitely a game designer. I also err more towards the development side of things. Try to focus on balance, making things ideally fun and fair. Do enough design as well. Where I think with set 4, I'm kind of leading this design on that set, so very exciting to be able to talk about that someday. Of course, not yet, but someday. Look forward to it.
In the distant future.
Way out there.
Less distant than you think, though.
I know it is already December. March is right around the corner. I am so terrified but excited. It'll be great.
No terror. Only excited.
Only excited.
Only excited.
I got a lot of stuff I need to do. Your job on set 1 is done, right? You made the cards and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
My job
Easy
is
mode.
having a busy time. Yeah. So, Tyler, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm also one of the primary game designers on the game. The first and second and third sets were designed kind of by consensus. But once Jeremy started working on set 4, just the roles kind of shifted so that I ended up leading the latter half of set 3 design. And also I'm in charge of set 6, which is my personal vision into the game.
Nice.
So obviously it'll be a while before I can talk about that. In addition to being a game designer who leads various sets, I am also somewhat of a creative lead. I'm the one that oversees the commissioning of art in conjunction with the art department, and I'm the one that comes up with or reviews or approves the card titles and subtitles on cards.
Awesome.
Yeah, Tyler is the one who, whenever I'm like, I want this character to be in this aspect, he says, no, that's insane.
Well, sometimes.
Or more often.
I was going to
why not?
say, more often it's like, that's weird. I think we can justify that.
Well, we did get a question from the chat that kind of leads with this, which is, who is the spreadsheet developer for this? Who looks at the math behind the set and is like, yep, this is adding up, or not so much. We need to make some tweaks here to make sure that this is all balanced,
That's a great question.
That is a good question.
I think
To different degrees. I think we all have different
Yeah.
spreadsheets that
Yeah. Well,
we
have
dig into.
one shared spreadsheet that we all have different algorithms, operating off of.
Yeah. I spent was it last month that I'd spent just like a day digging into all the common cards for the first 4 sets and being like, let's do some math on these and see how the sets are different.
I'm a big draft limited guy, so I pay a lot of attention to is the cost at common and uncommon specifically are the colors balanced? Is the cost curve balanced? Does each color have all the foundational things it needs and in order to just play a normal fun game of draft?
Nice.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, which leads into another question we had from before, which is, what do you do different as you're designing a set in order to prep for draft and sealed and limited play, as well as multiplayer? What are the steps that you take? You mentioned, balancing commons and uncommons, making sure that you can find them so everything's viable. But what else do you do as you're designing to keep that in mind?
Yeah, I think it really starts from the set skeleton, the sort of foundational structure that every set has, where we have not strict rules, but a general breakdown of like, at common we're going to have this split of colors, this many cunning plus heroic versus just pure cunning versus cunning plus villain, about this percentage of units versus events versus upgrades. Build things up from there. And then similar breakdowns for uncommon, and then as you go up in rarities to rare and legendary, it gets more loose. Those have less of an impact on limited, obviously, because you just see fewer of them. So that's kind of where it starts. And then just...
Also ground and space. You got to make
sure
that's an easy one for people to forget when they first start designing, is to have enough spaceships in their set at common, right? It's very easy to be like, yes, we want all these cool characters and troopers and sidekicks, and then you forget that like there's a whole arena over here that also needs to be supported because that's half the game.
Also easy to forget in deck building. I've seen a
Oh,
lot of
boy.
people be like, I put
no.
all the coolest units in my deck. Oh, oops, they're all on the ground.
Yeah. That was me for a long
Yeah.
time. Now I eat my vegetables and I put spaceships in my deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a direct dig at me, I think, too. But that's okay. So we have a couple questions here in the chat. We'll do a couple of these, and then we'll bounce back to some of the other stuff that I think connects really well that we wanted to talk about. But Jeremy, are there people that, while you're playtesting have really tried to break the game? And we have people, specifically call out Overwhelming Barrage. Have you seen this in playtesting at all?
Never, no.
Never trying to break the game?
No, never heard of it. Yeah, I mean, that card went through multiple changes, so it definitely got better way towards the end. Yeah, it's a strong card, but very exciting card. So, but yeah, it's there's a lot of things to factor in. So, it's one of those cards that want to be cool and exciting, and yeah, it is quite powerful. So, but the whole set one isn't spoiled yet. So, I'll wait and see till the full set's spoiled to see if it stays it's going to be a very strong card no matter what. But we'll see what kind of decks can also maybe rival some of the decks that feature it right now.
Yeah. And Overwhelming Barrage, I think, is a card that I'm glad is powerful, and that one, it costs 5, and it's green villain. It's 2 aspects. Those are the kind of cards we want to be pushed, and it sort of plays into green's color pie, where blue, red, yellow all get just play an event and remove something from the board. Vanquish, Waylay, Open Fire,
I guess. Yeah.
Overwhelming Barrage is much more green, and it's like, no, get something into play. Once you have a unit in play, then you can, play an event to remove stuff from the board. It's a very green way to do that thing.
Yeah. Also, it helps that it has one of the best art pieces in this set.
It really does.
Oh, the first time I saw it, like, everything else disappeared. It was incredible.
Yeah, I need that on sleeves and a play mat and every item that I own.
Yeah, right.
I need that on it. So another playtesting question what leader that's already been revealed, watching you all as you answer this, received the most significant reworks during development?
I think I have one answer that immediately jumps to mind. I might be forgetting one, but the one that I immediately think of is Han Solo.
Oh, yeah.
He had a completely different ability for the first chunk of playtesting.
For,
that was,
what, 2/3 of playtesting?
Yeah, a lot of playtesting, which was much more of a...
Well, don't give it away. We're going to use that
Yeah,
ability.
we'll use it. I'll just say it's a more improvisational, like, I've got to work with what I have, and it's kind of random type ability, versus the current one, which is much more like, I'm smuggling, I'm, sneaking in resources, kind of. Ultimately, we tested it a lot, and what we realized was that the old ability, we could never adequately play test with just set 1 cards. It was an ability that was inevitably going to be much more powerful once you had 2, 3, 4, 5 sets to work with. And so we were like, we like this ability, but we're going to have to put it on hold until later in the game when we could actually test it with a full card pool.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did change completely.
Like Tyler mentioned Thrawn.
Yeah, I was going to say, Thrawn was
several
doing that,
iterations,
yes.
some major changes. And one very cool iteration that, we'll probably never use, but
I disagree. It was very cool.
Very
We'll definitely
cool.
find a way to do it.
I would love to, but
All I'm going to say is it involved extra bookkeeping.
it was complicated.
Yeah.
But fun to
But
play.
it was so fun.
And play against even. I enjoy playing against it.
Yeah.
We also got a fun question. Do you have an answer besides?
No,
Thrawn
that's
then?
it. I was going to say Thrawn, yeah.
Thrawn?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll add that we even had to tweak Han Solo's ability like at the literal last possible moment for
That's
reasons
true.
that we will tell you about later.
When we start talking about set 2, I'll tell you about when we last minute realized that Han Solo should change.
All right.
A little bit, yeah.
What is the best starfighter? And they asked also, why is it the E-wing?
It's not the E-Wing.
It's not the E-wing. Okay, this is a fun question.
Sorry,
so you can take
buddy.
this wherever
Sorry,
you want.
buddy. It's not the E-Wing. Although respect for getting it back in canon now.
Yeah, E-wing's. I don't know. I'd put that up there. A-wing though is my favorite starfighter.
Why is A-Wing your favorite
Oh,
starfighter?
it's just fast.
Yeah,
I think
it's very fast.
Yeah.
That's why I crash. I can't fly an A-Wing in all the like starfighter games.
Oh yeah.
Because I just immediately die.
And Green Squadron A-wing is amazing. So.
Yeah, I was
Well,
going to
that
say,
helps. Yeah,
I've
you're
played
biased.
A-Wings most in Unlimited. What kind of ship is that set 3 1-drop space unit
yeah, I
that
don't
I
think you
play
should
all the
answer
time?
that at all.
The set 3 one? The set 3 one?
Come on.
No, we're
Oh,
kind of
fine,
there. We'll
Xander.
bring the stream
Fine,
down.
fine. I think you've still played more A-Wings than that, though.
Maybe.
All right, we'll get one more from the chat before we go back to ours. And so it is, where to go? What is your philosophy when it comes to balancing leaders and the meta overall, particularly the representation of the alignment aspects, hero and villainy, in the top meta decks to make sure that. I know that's a word.
That's
that
a
some people
lot of
have.
questions.
Yeah, it's mostly like, what do you do to make sure that villains aren't the top dog and everything, and that heroes get a chance, or vice versa?
We try to give everybody good cards. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something we talked about a lot too, and that recently especially, with some of it is just how strong we make the leaders, but no leader exists in a vacuum, right? There are a bunch of powerful cards in various aspects that make certain shells stronger or weaker. I think, Sabine, leader from set 1, is a great example where, on her own, is it the most powerful ability? No, but she deploys fast, and if the aggressive hero shell is strong enough, she'll be a really good leader. If the rest of the aggressive hero cards are not strong enough, she'll be a lot worse.
I don't know. She's really good. Just on her own. Just on her own. Yeah, she's got the shell, but also, I don't know.
That's fair. Well, we talked about most powerful cards already. So I also wanted to bring up, what do you think some of the most underrated cards are? Or card combos even, that of revealed cards so far? I know that, the community has opinions on, hey, here's the top ones, but what do you think is woefully underrated? Maybe they don't understand it's full suite that it's going to have later, or maybe they just don't understand how the ability can work in this game.
You guys got anything?
Good question.
I have
So-
opinions, but you guys go first.
I'm not fully up to speed on how good people think all the cards are.
That's fair.
I've been told people don't think Takedown is the best removal in the game. And I do love Takedown. Do people think Force Choke is good?
I was just going to say,
I
why
love Force
why
Choke.
would you play Takedown when you can play Force Choke? It's half as
It's
much.
a half-price Takedown. nice Sabine.
That's fair, but a different color, so
Yeah. I do. I adore Force Choke. I feel like in my slow decks, it's take a card. If I can drag the game out long enough, I'll make up that card at disadvantage. And in my fast decks, I'm like, yeah, take a card. I will win the game while you have multiple cards sitting in your hand.
What do you got?
Chewbacca, the leader. I don't know why people think he's bad. It's like every 3-drop in your deck is also a Sentinel, which means you're not going to get run over until that 2/9 grit shows up. And what are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
I'm always afraid he has 9 HP.
Yeah,
that is-
have you ever played
Oh.
it? Internet. If you haven't played against Chewbacca leader unit after he's deployed, you're not allowed to tell me that Chewbacca's bad.
He's just good.
He's just good, and his front side keeps you alive to get to the very powerful backside,
Yeah.
which is what I like about him.
Yeah, throwing entrenched on that guy.
Oh no! Don't even say it. Nightmare scenario for me right there. I've had the
Repair.
most issues with the. Oh yeah, that too. Well, then you get rid of the grit. You gotta just double entrench
That's
him.
fine. I'll go from 6 power to 3 power. They're still gonna die.
That's fair. So that's a good one, Jeremy.
Like Danny, I'm never sure what people think is very undervalued yet. So, nothing really comes to mind at the moment. But yeah, maybe someone will by the end of the stream. We'll see.
There we go. We'll toss it back in there if you think of anything. So we also talked a little bit about deck building, but what advice do you have for new players? What piece of the game caused the most trouble for you as a player and as a designer when you're building decks and figuring out how the game's going to work?
Always attack first.
Yeah,
Always.
that's the
the
default.
number one
I mean,
rule.
not obviously,
Yeah.
not always, but when in doubt, looking at the board, attack with your guy before you play your unit. They could have a trick. They could defeat your unit. It'd be sad.
Fair.
Um,
I think cost curve is very important. Ideally, you want
Yes.
to be efficient, use your resources every round. Over last weekend, running demos, some people would do nothing turn 1. So I asked them, what's your resource? And they have a 2-cost unit that the resource. And you should probably not resource that and play it turn 1 because getting board presence is really important in this game. Try and maintain that is very important. So yeah, having good cost curve where you have low drops, and at least into some mid-range units for the most part, unless they're aggro decks, to try use your resources every round if you can, since using resources will help you really get better board presence and help you potentially win the game.
yeah, I'm a huge advocate for putting more 2-drops in your deck than you think you need.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
One thing I also noticed when watching people play their early games with the demos is people sometimes undervalue building a board presence. Like I see a lot of people play a unit round 1 and then immediately surprise strike round 2. And it's like, yes, I got 5 damage on their base. but then they only have one unit in play, and they start to fall behind on board pretty quickly. So valuing your board presence is pretty important as well.
Yeah. For deck building, I already said it, but we're going to say it again. Eat your vegetables. Put spaceships in your deck.
Yeah.
Your opponent's going to play a 2-cost A-Wing, and if you don't have a way to deal with it, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So put cards in your deck to deal with the enemy A-Wing. Or put the enemy A-Wing in your deck, and then beat the enemy.
Feed the. Yeah.
Then win the die roll and get initiative.
Yeah, exactly.
So you win the A-Wing fight.
Yeah, I think that's all really good advice. And I don't want to ask too many questions about deck building because next week we'll be doing that on a stream, is talking about decks that you built yourselves as well. So tune in next week on Wednesday, and we'll be doing a little gameplay with.
We're doing that? I should probably go build a deck.
Yeah, you should probably have deck build. I know, I've seen your deck. I think people are gonna love it.
It's good.
Yeah. So we have some other questions from the chat. So, what is each designer's favorite aspect to design, and is it different from your favorite aspect to play? I actually don't want you to answer.
I was going
this
to say,
question.
I've answered this question a bunch of times already, so.
And I think you've answered this question in an interview that might be coming out. from
Probably.
PAX. So
Probably.
we'll have you.
Either one
pass on
that's
this one.
already coming out or already came out or one that's coming out.
Yeah, so we'll have you two answer this one.
It's a tough one. I like design for all aspects, but if I had to choose one, I guess maybe cunning. I just like kind of that trickery, kind of tempo-oriented play. I definitely do like playing cunning as well, so I might go with the same answer. Just yeah, there's a lot of 7 cards that you can maybe blame me for pushing a bit too much here or there, but yeah, it's I don't know. I like kind of design cards are kind of weird and different, and cunning can definitely lend to that very well. A lot of tricks and weird stuff.
Well, it'd be boring for me to give the exact same answer as Jeremy, but I do love playing cunning, and I love designing cunning cards too.
Everyone's gonna think that's the
Shame.
only aspect
Shame.
of this game after this stream.
Shame to
That's
both of
it.
you.
That's it. We also have a real fun question that I genuinely want to know, which is what set 1 card made each of you laugh the most when you built it or saw someone else design the card?
Ooh, interesting question.
I have oh boy, okay, set 1.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
reveal.
That's the hard
I
question.
have a lot of answers from the first year of the game. I'm not sure which of them are in set 1 and revealed.
I would say you can whisper to me, but then the microphone will pick it up.
Yeah, no, I mean you know the set 2 one for sure.
Oh, sure. What's the set made me laugh the most?
I think that there's some funny moments in both directions with "You're My Only Hope" for sure. With both the I've seen people build decks intentionally to get down to really low health and play a huge thing off it, and I've seen people blind "You're My Only Hope" into a 1-drop, and those are both pretty
good.
funny.
That's pretty good. I was gonna. I think my answer is when Danny suggested the subtitles for R2D2 and C3PO. Ignoring Protocol and Protocol Droid because it was perfect, and it exactly nailed both of the jokes.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know, maybe one card just jumps to mind, Galactic Ambition, just seeing that text, like, whoa, like, what could that do someday? Like, gotta be careful with that one. So, yeah, we probably play a bit safe with set 1, but who knows, a year or 2 from now, what kind of crazy you could play for free with that. So that was pretty cool to see just that text. So that's exciting.
Yeah. And that leads us to another question that we were talking about beforehand, which was some of the most underrated cards in the set, and you all said Galactic Ambition. Not because maybe it's great in set 1, and it's good in set 1.
Well,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, but it's potential down the road for you.
Yeah,
Listen,
I don't know
I've
if
built
it's
a bunch of Galactic Ambition decks, and there's something there. I'm not sure what, but there's something there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily underrated in set 1, but it's certainly misunderstood by some people. I think it's a card that's designed to have future potential. It's a card that we definitely tested for quite a while at lower costs than 7.
Yes.
And what it was doing in set 1 at those lower costs was alarming enough that thinking about sets 2, 3, 4, 5, where there's going to be more and more giant things that you could potentially put into play, made us want to play it a little safer out of the gate here. But yeah, don't underrate getting a giant unit, 3 rounds ahead of schedule.
Well, and also,
That can be pretty good.
not a real spoiler, but it's totally a spoiler. There is at least one card in the set that hasn't been previewed yet that will make this card cheaper.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh.
So there you go. Little
I do love
preview
that
for
card.
you.
Yeah.
Another card that we talked about being misunderstood before this was Grand Inquisitor, right?
Yeah, I think Grand Inquisitor's in a similar boat where, I mean, he's very clearly a card that needs a certain type of unit to work well with it. You need those 3 or lower power, 3 or more health units. And, there's only so many of them been spoiled so far. Only, so many they're going to be in each set. But readying is really powerful.
Yep.
And another thing that I don't know how much people have picked up on is Force is probably just the best trait in the game.
No, it is explicitly the
Yeah.
best trait in the game, and hopefully it stays that way.
Having the Force trait is a big deal. And that was a part of, Inquisitor has clearly, lower stats than some other leaders we've seen at the same deploy cost. But yeah, Force user with readying potential has some really cool things you can do. Or you can just, get rid of your super laser tech immediately.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and that's the thing, right? Is he's for a big chunk of development, he costs 5, and then we
Yeah.
were like, yeah, let's just do this to the super laser technician, and now he's out here swinging already, and we were like, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much, considering this
Yeah.
card's potential will only go up,
That was a big one.
and it will go up. I've seen the future.
That's fair. So we can go back to some of the ones from the chat. So was rotation in mind since the beginning when it comes to approaching and designing cards and sets, or is that something that you all added in later? We don't have to talk about details about rotation, just about was that at the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah. From the start, we knew that there would be a primary competitive format that would rotate, and we tried to plan that from the start.
Realistically speaking, you can't have a card pool grow indefinitely, both from a accessibility perspective and from just a game balance perspective. At some point,
Yeah.
each set matters so little that you don't have interesting metagame shifts. And also, if you need cards from 10 years ago to play
Yeah.
the competitive format, what are you even doing?
Yeah, I think really the choice is rotation or just continually
bust.
power creep,
Yeah.
which we did not want to do.
All right. So we also had a question, which was, do cards get rarities at the beginning of development, or after you build all the cards and you're like, well, this one seems powerful, so it's going to be legendary, or it fits in this and it has a big name, it's a rare, things like that. So when do you decide rarity for cards?
Right away.
Yeah,
Right
from
away?
the start.
Yeah.
From the start, we have Rarity. Because it informs not just, it's not really primarily about power level even. It's about, one, building the limited environment. We have to know which cards are rare and which are common when we're testing draft. And also just about, complexity and specificity of the card. Like, commons are going to be more generally like, hey, this is like a, vanilla unit with no abilities or a simple ability. You can put this in a lot of decks. The rares are going to be the more splashy or weird or doing something specific type of cards.
Very high ceiling.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
to be sure, it doesn't stay locked in on every single card for all of development. We often, many times,
Very,
we say,
very
oh,
often.
we'll switch this between rare and legendary, or we'll switch this rare and this uncommon, because that makes more sense that way. But they all do have rarity from the start, yeah.
Well, and also, unique characters can't exist at common. And that's not something you think about regularly, but if you're going to have potentially five copies of a card in your deck because you're the only one at the table that's taking them, then to only be able to play one of them at once would suck. So we can't have we don't have unique characters at common. We probably won't.
Yeah.
And that means that your stronger, more conditional cards are going to end up at higher rarities, but which specific of those higher rarities can shift and be malleable.
Cool. A rules question: if a card says deal damage, does that go through shields and or sentinel?
Shields block damage.
Sentinel doesn't.
Yeah, Sentinel only stops units attacking. If you have a card that directly deals damage, can completely ignore Sentinel. I've got a question for you, Xander.
Oh yeah.
Didn't you say at the start that we were going to show people some cool cards?
Yeah, you're right. We did. We did say that.
But then the tornado took it away.
Yeah, the tornado
Yeah.
just picked him up and carried him away for us.
We had a giant card and everything.
I wish we had another giant card.
Dude, those giant cards are great.
Let's go ahead and show one. We have two today, so I'll make that announcement. We'll show one now and one at the very end. So the first one, a lot of people have seen already, but we want to make sure that you saw it here on the stream as well, which is the Avenger. So tell us about this card, you three.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Step one, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, yeah, 9 costs is a lot, but we want to make sure we have some really cool cards at the high cost to make it worthwhile to play the late game. Ramp into it or play a control deck that can bring down a huge threat that your opponent has to deal with. Otherwise, you can close out games. And this is definitely something that can close out games. Your opponent doesn't have an answer. It's one play to end on attack. You have to choose a unit and you defeat that unit. It can be very spicy in your control deck if you can team it up with other cards to keep the board very light, where sometimes they're forced to defeat their own units. So if they have one powerful unit, you just play this. Now it's gone. So yeah, it's a very cool card that we want to. To me, to us, it kind of shows up what Legendary can do. It's a really cool, awesome, iconic card that can be very powerful in the right deck.
Yeah. This is a great example, to your point, of what Legendary cards often will be, which is it costs 9. A lot of decks aren't going to get up to 9 resources or be interested in playing a 9-drop, but certain decks that want it will love it, and it's a huge splashy effect. I played a lot of control decks in set 1 and 2 testing with, just tons of removal and Count Dooku into this, and just slowly grind out the game until you just slam the door with Avenger.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a control player, but let me tell you, I've played some control mirrors where we're both holding on to a handful of Count Dookus and Avengers, and that is some of the most fun games of this game I've ever played.
Yeah.
And I don't even like playing control.
That's awesome.
Dooku, you're Dooku, and Avenger, you're Avenger.
Yeah.
Classic. Good, clean, unlimited.
All right. So we're gonna get close on time here, but I have 3 more questions. So we'll do 2 more from the chat, and then 1 more fun one I saw in the chat that I just think is a great time for us.
I am here for a great time.
Yeah. That's why we always come on stream, right? So why did you go with 50 card deck over a lower number like 30, and why such a brutal mulligan, the full hand mulligan?
Oh boy.
Good question. That's what I love.
Yeah, I could talk for 2 hours about consistency in card games.
How about this? I'll start with the 50 card deck because that's easy.
Sure.
We have a bunch of other games that have 50 card decks with 3 copies of a card. We did talk about should there be limit 2, limit 4, but the math was just that 50 cards and 3 copies hit the right level of how likely am I going to draw any one card that we wanted.
I'll also say, when you're drawing 2 cards per turn, you run out of cards pretty quick in a 30 card deck.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually limited games wrap up a little before that happens, but not always.
Not always.
Yeah.
I've definitely put 36 cards in my draft decks from time to time. Not lately, but...
But yeah, for the mulligan, we tried a lot of mulligans, tried no mulligans, went back and forth a lot on this. I'll say the game system for Unlimited has a ton of consistency built in. Drawing 6, choosing which 2 to resource. Every round, drawing 2, choosing which one to resource. You have a ton of control over filtering your draws that really lets you get to the cards you want very consistently from game to game. So we didn't want the mulligan to play into that even more. Also, we play tested for a while with a mulligan more like Arkham LCG has, for instance, where it's put some cards from your hand on the bottom, then replace them, then put resources down. And it was the steps of I'm choosing which cards to put on the bottom of the deck, then immediately choosing which cards to put down as resources. The 2 layers of card selection was a complex and weird decision process.
A lot of people that weren't super involved, super experienced card game players did not know how to process the same decision twice.
Yeah,
but it was filtered different ways.
Exactly. It's almost the same decision, but it could matter a little bit which one's in my deck versus which ones are resources. So and for a while, I'll say we tried with no mulligan, and a lot of games it was totally fine. But there were enough games where it was oh, I guess, I didn't draw a turn 1 play unless I put 20 plus turn 1 plays in my deck, that it just felt bad. So we're okay, we'll give you 1 reroll to make sure that if you build for it, you'll very consistently have something to do turn 1 if you want to, and then go from there and let the draw resource be the way you get consistency.
Cool. All right. So the last serious question here is, the game has felt great and thematically in so many ways. In what way have you attempted to recreate the feeling of lightsaber clashes in a TCG context for this game?
That's a specific question.
Yeah, I thought it was
Tyler, you're the theme guy.
Team guy on the spot.
Honestly, the answer is pretty simple, and it's just reciprocal damage. Like, just the fact that when I attack you, I also take damage, you strike back. That is the two units fighting. That is them getting into a brawl. Now, lightsabers specifically, well, I guess you got to put lightsabers in your deck if you want to be clashing lightsabers, right? And that's all I'm going to say about lightsaber clashes specifically. Tune in a few years for more information on that topic.
All right. So I think, we're about at time here. So we will talk one more question that I saw in the chat, and it did not get put up here, but I thought it was funny, was if you had to assign each one of us an aspect, which one of us would be which aspects? The four of us. And I was like, that's fun. So thank you, whoever commented that. And I knew Tyler was getting a kick out of this one.
Okay, who gets to do the assigning?
I think the chat can do it a little bit. They can weigh in, but I think it's on us to decide.
Right. We all agreed that Jeremy is cutting, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a villain.
Oh! Ooh.
So,
Hot take.
That's a hot, villain.
Nice.
We're too nice.
Okay, no, I'll take that.
Villainy, yep. That's
Jay-Z gets to be the villain.
The villain part is the longer the game goes against Jeremy, the worse it gets for you.
Yeah.
You're just oh no. I thought I was losing by a little bit, now I'm losing by a lot.
I don't know. The other three, this was easy.
That's
over
the easy
here.
one.
Yeah, you were obvious, but I mean not obvious enough because villainy, that makes sense.
I think Danny's aggression, because Danny just
Fair.
only wants to play one drops.
I do love one drops.
They're so fun.
People don't realize that instead of just playing one card on the first turn, you can play two separate cards, and they can't
And they can't
remove
deal with
both of them.
Yeah.
All right, we had some in the
Wow,
chat.
everyone in the chat thinks I'm aggression.
Yeah, everyone said
I don't know why I'm aggression.
like
I was
that.
going to give myself command.
I would have also given you command.
Yeah, same here. And it's not just because you're wearing green today.
Yes, right. It's probably partially that.
It's partially that. No, it's because I care about spreadsheets and
Yes.
set skeletons. That's why.
That's fair.
Tyler is keeping everything structured for sure.
Structure.
That
Yeah.
leaves.
So what are you?
Xander's
Is
command.
Xander vigilance?
No, I think Xander's vigilance.
I
I'm
think
down.
so.
I think we can cover the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
gamut.
Yeah,
Xander's
yeah.
here to keep us on track.
That's
Yes.
true. I am holding down the fort and making sure nothing bad happens to our people.
I could see Xander being
Ooh,
command.
he is
for
in
the same
charge.
reason.
That's true.
In charge.
yeah,
That's
that's a
not
good
true.
point.
I'm just
Yeah.
the pretty face that comes
Xander
up
is
every once
all
in
of
a
our
while.
bosses.
All right. Well, thank you all for indulging us in that. But we do have one more card reveal for today, like I promised. And this one, all three of these guys were super excited when I said which card we were going to reveal today. And so we're going to throw up Red 3.
Spicy.
Spicy.
This card's awesome.
This card is really awesome.
I was
Speaking
gonna-
of playing 2 1-drops,
Yeah. So does anybody want to read it off for those just listening at home?
Sure. Red 3 is Red 3, Unstoppable. Good Biggs Darklighter reference there. It's a 3-cost aggression heroic unit. It has 2 power, 3 health, and it's in space. It has raid 1, and each other heroic unit gains raid 1. It's a rebel, and it's a starfighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, this card's really good. Like, I don't...
yeah. I think we were talking earlier in the stream about Sabine and whether she has good cards in her shell to make aggro work, and this is one of the
Definitely
big
one
ones.
of them.
Every time I read this card, I'm like, this can't possibly be that good, right? It's understated, and it needs a board state, and then I die. And I'm like, how did that happen?
Only a 2/3 for 3. It doesn't
This
seem
is
like
bad.
that much.
That's
but
actively bad. I could do all that for 2 in one color.
you could, but you wouldn't give both of your heroic 1-drops raid 1 on turn 2, and then give your 4 deployed leader raid 1 when she comes out the next turn and attacks.
Yeah.
You can play later than the game too. Like, it still has a big impact when you play because suddenly all your ready hero units have raid 1. So if you have
You play it and deal 4 extra damage.
potentially, like you can
Yeah.
sometimes get a big swarm going that if opponents doesn't have immediate answers, suddenly you're getting a bunch of damage out of nowhere with that one card, and then it sits there every round until your opponent takes it out, or else they might die.
And it's in space, so it's hard to get rid of.
Not
it.
easy.
Yeah, this is why you have to play spaceships, because sometimes your opponent will play an A-wing into red 3, and you'll be like, well, I'm just going to take 7 damage per turn just from those 2 units, unless I deal with it. Yeah, in Rebel decks, it's, curve this into Dodana, just like everything's attacking you plus 2. It's amazing. I saw a question in chat. Raid does stack. Any keyword with a number after it, the numbers add up. So if you restore 1 plus restore 1 equals restore 2, raid 1 plus raid 1 is raid 2. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think that wraps things up for today. Thank you all for joining us. A couple final announcements was I first of all wanted to just say thank you to everyone who stopped by PAX Unplugged and hung out with all of us this weekend. It was so much fun. It was great seeing you all, and we just had a great time demoing and chatting about Star Wars Unlimited. So if you didn't make PAX Unplugged, we do have some other events coming up. The calendar is now live on our website.
This is the website.
This is the website, Star Wars Other Side. Yep, this, that side. Yeah, StarWarsUnlimited.com. Go check it out. We will be adding other things to that if more events come up on our schedule, so keep an eye on it, and we'll also try to make sure that you all are aware of that beforehand as well. Thank you as well, again, for patience today. Looking forward to next week's stream, which is Designer Deck Building, where these two will join us on stream, and one of us will be taking on the role of Danny, since he will not be able to make it and play with his designer deck.
I'm going to do my best to drive straight from my 10-hour flight to the studio to play a game.
I really think you should.
I love that deck
I really
so
hope
much.
you do.
It'd be so good. But we also have an article going live for this stream, so you can look forward to reading a little bit more about insights on designing this game from these three as well. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one.